Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sabans, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see it. And today we got a hell of a show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, as you guys know, the NBA is announcing a new format for this All-Star weekend, especially for the All-Star game, which sounds just absolutely horrendous to even, it sounds horrendous to even explain, so I'm not going to explain it. But basically what it is they're breaking the teams, the 24 players, something like that, into 3 teams, and they're going to be a 4 of 8 players, and there's going to be a 4th team made of the rising stars, and they're going to play like 5-minute quarter. Nobody knows, right? They brought this up on ESPN First Take. Stephen A. Smith, who has a very powerful voice in the sports world on a very big platform, basically called it a bunch of nonsense. Right. And if Stephen A. Smith is saying it and willing to go out there on a limb like that, given his platform and given the association that ESPN has with the NBA in terms of their rights to the games and all of that, that should tell you a lot. That him being aware of all of that and still going out there and saying that should say a lot. A lot of people think this thing is an absolute joke. A total joke. A total joke. Let's look over the box score last year of last year's game, which was just a total disaster from beginning to start. That game featured a score of 211 to 186. These teams almost scored 400 points combined. They played absolutely no defense. Let me just look at how many threes they attempted. The West team attempted 71 threes. The East team attempted 97 threes. In that game, they almost attempted 170 threes. I want you guys to think about that. 170 threes were attempted in a basketball game. That is an average of 42 threes a quarter. 42 threes a quarter. A quarter. I was just listening to Gilbert Arenas and Gil's Arena and these guys, or Kenny Martin and these guys. These guys are some of the biggest advocates of this era. They were essentially saying that this era of players are stupid. Do you know why they were saying that they were stupid? They were going over the math and they're like, but these got to be the stupidest guys we've ever seen. Teams are attempting a record high in threes and scoring is only up by an average of 2 points per game. He said it's actually stupid, the volume of threes that they're taking, because they're forgetting that basketball is a game you think. You don't play it in a robotic, dogmatic way. You have to process issues in front of you. But this stupidity that they're playing with was like, oh, well, the math says take the 3. The math doesn't take the matchup and the possession into context. It doesn't do that. That's why you have to judge the game on a possession to possession basis. They're attempting way more threes and the scoring is barely moved. So what happened? This morning, came across a soundbite from actually one of our affiliates, believe it or not, at CLNS Media, from the channel NBA History and Storytellers, and it featured Bob Ryan, right? And Bob Ryan was essentially talking about a conversation that he had with Larry Bird. Now, to give you guys some quick context, Larry Bird was at the last All-Star game, I believe, and he was essentially there to try to coax these guys up to play hard. And that clearly didn't work. So he was asking Larry what he thought about the All-Star game and the NBA in general. And to basically distill it into one word, he was disgusted. But before we even get into this sound, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports with over 10 million members. PrizePicks makes it easy to get real money action on the sports and players you love. You pick more or less on at least 2 for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. For example, this week on PrizePicks, I'm looking at the upcoming NBA schedule and selecting Stephen Curry for more than 29 points and Kevin Durant for more than 27 points and Anthony Davis for more than 12 rebounds and Luka Doncic for more than 8 assists. If you're like me and you like to play safe, you'll love PrizePicks' new feature, Flex Plays. It's the safest way to play. You can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. Plus, you can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. On top of this, Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money as quick as in 15 minutes. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. And remember, whenever you support this sponsor, you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what Bob Ryan had to say about his conversation with Larry Bird about the current state of affairs in the NBA today. And I'm going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
And the first one was in the with this new All-Star game format, this nonsense, they won't play they refuse to play a real basketball game. And so they've got to find some other way of doing this, and they don't care about the All-Star game. It's all about the dunk contest and the 3-point, and the game is play a game. I mean, they made a mockery of it. And I say I blame these players. If they wanted to play basketball, we'd have a game.
Sure.
They don't have any sense of personal pride. I don't understand it. So they give us 211 to 186 last year, and it's disgraceful. It's embarrassment to me. I mean, they should be embarrassed. Well, they're not going to do that anymore, and they're going to do some nonsense. Okay, so I went to Larry, and I said, Larry, what was your attitude toward All-Star games? I wanted to win. Period. Quote unquote. I wanted to win.
Right.
I said we played competitive games. No, you don't want anybody to get hurt. You didn't go nuts. You didn't go crazy. You didn't do stupid things. But you played basketball, and you wanted to win. Gee, how elementary is that? Well, we've gotten away from that. So I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, if you will, and a guy who, and that leads me to part B. In his first All-Star game in 1980 in Washington, Larry Bird made history. What was that, Bob? He made a 3-pointer. I said one singular, a 3-pointer that basically put the game away. Okay? And it was newsworthy. He hit a 3. Wow. Well, then we got into a discussion about the 3. Now, here's the revelation that I love. Larry Bird said, well, hell, we never practiced 3s. He said, the first time I practiced 3s was prior to the first 3-point contest in 1986. I never practiced 3s. I just took them when they were there. And yeah, he said, today, high school kids, it's the game. Everybody takes 3s. Because that's the game. But in his day, it was a bad shot. A bad shot. He said in KC one time, it was funny, he said, made him laugh. He was in New York. And Casey told them, don't take so many stupid 3s in so many words. Maybe he didn't use stupid, that's mine. But he basically said, you guys you're taking too many 3s. First possession, Danny cranks a 3. And Larry laughed like hell. He said, I couldn't believe it. It was great. So anyway, but now the game, and I said, Larry, would you want to take 10 or 11? Not really, but, he'd adapt. And of course, but that's just, so that's the difference in the game. Just think about that. He never practiced a 3 until he just had that. He happened to have that range.
Bob, when you mentioned, are you good with Bird before we move on? Because I have a great, what else?
That's the big thing was that the All-Star game and the fact that they played it. He's disgusted. He was invited last year. He
wouldn't go.
He thought it was a joke, and it is a joke, and it's awful. And
so you heard what he had to say. What are my thoughts about this? I think, what's amazing? As I was listening to that soundbite, I was saying to myself, I was thinking about companies that at one point were reigning at the top. And it's like they refuse to pay attention to the signs. And then we're watching like a business, like one of these documentaries of a company, like what happened to that company, like Blockbuster or something like that. And you're sitting there listening to the CEO. He's like, well, we had the signs, but we're being arrogant. We didn't pay attention to the trends and all of that. That's the kind of sense I'm getting. Do you know there was some data that came out the other day that a college basketball game actually had higher ratings than an NBA game, I think, between the Lakers and Warriors or something like that? Are you aware of this? A college basketball game drew more interest than an NBA game featuring the biggest franchise in the sport in Los Angeles Lakers and I think the Warriors. Are you aware of this? that signifies growth to you? And then you have all of these voices, athletes, former athletes, content creators, journalists, all of them saying they don't like the product. All of them. But the NBA is holding on tight to, it's great. It's great. What did Adam Silver say? He said the reason that the NBA isn't doing so well is because they went against the World Series. Excuse me, doesn't the World Series happen every year? Doesn't the World Series happen every year? So how can that be an excuse? So it was an election cycle. Okay, but the year before that, last year, the numbers were down too. Oh, well, it's like we're just going to keep kicking the can down the road and continue in denial. And I actually saw a video the other day because I've been trying to understand if the ratings are going down, why do these companies keep paying billions of dollars for the NBA rights? And someone just revealed the information on this on House of Straws. And essentially what this gentleman said was that the reason the NBA is able to get these multi-billion-dollar contracts, even though the ratings are going down, is because of these networks. They need something to put on TV, right? They need something to put on TV. And the NBA is going to these networks and has found a way to create a bidding war, right? A bidding war between these companies over their product, because in a lot of cases, they may have declining viewership numbers and they're like, okay, we can offer you this. And then the NBA may go to Warner or whatever TV company or whatever and say, look, this guy's willing to pay me $1 billion. And then the other guy will be like, well, I can pay you $1.2 billion and I can pay you and then that's how they did it. So even though there's a decline in viewership, they were still able to create a bidding war from these television companies, networks or whatever, that are seeing decline in ratings, and they need something to sell advertising against. That's how he basically explained it. And I'm just paraphrasing it and oversimplifying it, right? Just go to House of Straws. You can find the gentleman there talking about this. But it's a damn shame that Larry Bird himself is saying this thing is a total joke. And it is a total joke. It is a total joke. But you know what? Let's continue kicking the can down the road and act like as if nothing is happening. Let's stick our heads in the sands and just sing Kumbaya. Nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. And I have no intention of watch. I mean, watch this weekend just to see the spectacle of it, but not out of excitement, just to see what new nonsense did they come up with this year. An absolute joke. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.